Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Unlocking Cybersecurity, What Business Analysis Professionals Need to Know. I'm your host, Tiffany Yacolino, and I work on the marketing team at IIBA. IIBA is an independent, not-for-profit professional association serving the global business analysis community. A recognized thought leader dedicated to elevating the discipline of business analysis, we provide our global community with relevant tools, resources, and networking opportunities. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A panel, and we will answer some of your questions in the session as time permits. Today's webinar recording will be available for a limited time on IIBA's webinar archives page within 10 business days of the broadcast. Please also check out the chat area for a copy of today's slides. I'm here with two accomplished business analysts and speakers for an exciting discussion on cybersecurity and business analysis. I'll start by introducing our presenters. Please welcome Bindu. Bindu comes with 20 years of experience in business analysis and is qualified from IIBA and BCS. Recognizing the need for cybersecurity analysis, Bindu studied security management and has become an advocate to make cybersecurity more inclusive within mainstream business analysis. She was part of IIBA's cybersecurity certification team, authoring the certification curriculum and exam. Bindu has also spoken in several countries around the world, delivering talks and workshops on business analysis and cybersecurity. Welcome. And I'd like to give a warm welcome to Terry. Terry is a principal business analyst leading teams of BAs in the cybersecurity organization, handling writing business cases, managing stakeholder expectations, performing enterprise business analysis, and providing support and recommendations to the Chief Information Security Officer and her team of cybersecurity experts. Thank you both for being here today. I'll pass the presentation over to Terry and Bindu to get us started.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, everyone who's joined today, and a very warm thank you to IIBA for hosting this presentation and allowing us an opportunity to share our experiences and insights in cybersecurity as BAs. Why are we talking about cybersecurity? Why is that important? I always like to start our presentations with this awareness around the reality of cybersecurity. Have you ever had your credentials stolen, or have you ever worked in a company that's been hacked? If you have, you know the effects. They can be scary, frustrating, in some cases very catastrophic. What we know is that cybercrime has actually increased since the pandemic by at least 600%, and that's global. We know that cybersecurity crime is on the rise. It's not going away. Ransomware made history in 2020, contributing to a first reported death. Depending on the source, there are 2 recorded deaths related to ransomware, one occurring in the US in 2019 and another one in Germany in 2020. And these were folks who were unable to be treated by a hospital who had undergone ransomware. And so we can equate this to just the tragic effect that ransomware can have above and beyond the financial and reputational cost associated with ransomware globally. This is shocking, and I think this really stands out as why we're talking about cybersecurity. So if it was measured as a country, cybercrime, we look at it holistically, is predicted to actually predict $10.5 trillion in transfer of wealth annually by 2025. 10.5 trillion. That exceeds the world's economy of all but the top 2 countries in the world, exceeding Germany and Japan's economy. And lastly, sort of dramatically stating that we need to continue to train cybersecurity professionals and those who support them, that would be us, in order for them to grow their protection, detection, and recovery capabilities, becoming increasingly important, as we all know. So let me pause for a minute. Tiffany, if you could just curate this for a bit. How many passwords do you have? If you want to go into if we have the chat is open or in the
Yes.
Q&A.
Chat is open.
Type in the chat and just quickly throw in how many passwords do you think you have? I'll wait a second.
I'm even going to participate because I have too many to count.
Too many to count. That's a valid number.
Yes, yes.
150 plus, a million, 100 plus. Wow.
Sometimes it feels like that, that's for sure.
Right? Yeah.
Too many.
Yep.
Got a lot of great responses coming in. So I'm going to read a few out just as they come in here. I've got way too many to count, 100 plus, 50, 5 to 10, too many. That's from Michaela. I've got 30 to 40. Rajani says 10 to 15. Someone's lucky. They said they have 4. I would love to only have 4.
Really? That's remarkable.
Yes.
That
yes.
is,
yeah.
On average, digitally savvy people who are present in using digital media and technology, on average, have around 100 passwords or more. And here's some interesting trivia. 50% of people use the same password for their various logins. 50%. You know who's really happy about that? Hackers.
Yes.
Because they get one password, they've got, they can go all over. If you're relying on your memory for password management, that's probably not the best solution. Need to find another alternative solution. Their passwords are the gateway to your digital world, and password management becomes a cyber hygiene concern. One of the things as a business analyst, no matter what role or function you have or where you work, cyber hygiene is still an important aspect of your job, of your role, both at home and at work. 61%, anywhere from 61 to 90% of breaches are the result of credential that's being misappropriated, misused. By managing your passwords, you're going to increase your security and the security of your company. So what could a password be? Taking a quick look at this graph, we can see that there are combinations, and you will be asked on many sites and at work to use a specific combination of typed characters on the keyboard. And if you notice here, the most common password in the world, by the way, over 15 billion, is 123456. If anybody here is using that password, please feel free to change that rather immediately. One of the things I want to mention is that if you are using a password manager, the one password you have to remember is the manager password itself. And if you are looking for a complex password that, one, is easy to remember, and two, is very, very difficult for hackers, automated systems to crack, take a look at number 6 and number 7 on this list. Again, easy to remember, but very complicated for these systems to generate. So again, password management is a cyber hygiene characteristic, and would really recommend that no matter what, as we go on and discuss more about cybersecurity and the role of the BA, this is the first and probably the most significant change that you can make to better secure your digital world. So during the next 30 or 40 minutes, Bindu and I are going to share with you a definition of cybersecurity and risk management. These are foundational to gaining an understanding of what you need to improve your cybersecurity hygiene and enable you to grow your skills in cybersecurity. We'll also share our insights from years of experience working as business analysts in large organizations, in institutions, helping them with their cybersecurity and risk management needs. And hopefully this will inspire you to consider advancing your learning, taking a few courses, and maybe even pursuing a certification in cybersecurity related areas. Now, I'd like to turn it over to my dear friend and esteemed colleague, Bindu Chadavaripa, who stayed up late as she's currently in India.
Thank you, Terry. Yes, as Terry mentioned, I am in India, so it's Diwali here. Happy Diwali to whoever is celebrating out there. So if you hear any of the fireworks going in the background, apologize for that and do enjoy the festivities as much as we can. Okay, what is cyber security now? First of all, can you tell me, what do you understand by this term cyber security? Please type in the chat box to let me know, what does cyber security mean to you?
And I've got the chat box opened and first answer popped in. Yes.
Secure your online presence.
Right. It's a good one.
And there's no wrong answer. So please feel free to type in, what does the term mean?
Yeah. So, yep,
Secure
a lot
data,
of
logical, protect good, securing data, practicing safety online, digital assets, prevention. Brilliant. I see a lot of digital combination of CIA triad. Somebody from security knowledge is here with us. Good to have you. Safeguarding your information, protecting. Okay, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of digital, there's network security. Yes, all of these answers are absolutely correct, but they may not be complete. So let's understand, what do I mean by complete information? Okay, so to do that, let's look at security from two different perspectives. So Terry, if you don't mind, if you go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, to understand what is security, we need to understand from two different perspectives, which is a change in the mindset. And when we actually understand why we are doing whatever we are doing, and we are business analysts, the very first thing we do when we go on any project or any initiative, the first question is, what is the problem? Why are we even doing this project? So when we understand this big why, we can just then figure out what has to be done, who has to be done, when has to be done. So this big why is so important. Terry, next slide, please. Okay, so again, another question for you. To understand security, let's take another simple example where we get a perspective of security. So how do you protect your home? Can you please type in your responses once again? CCTV, yes, thank you. Locks, alarm, lock it, put lock in the fence, security cameras, yeah, insurance, brilliant. Walls, yes, I like that. Dog, yes. As they say, even if you don't have a dog, just put a note saying beware of the dog, even that works. Gun, okay, yes, you're definitely in the US. Restrict access, fence, locks, security company, brilliant. Well,
a lot of good responses.
Locks. Yes. All of the above in South Africa, brilliant. Okay. Again, I see a lot of alarm systems, a lot of technology here, and some of them wall, and locks. Brilliant. Again, all of them are absolutely correct. Be watchful. I love that. Okay, so all of them are correct, but again, not complete. How many of you thought about a smoke detector? And again, regularly checking it and maintaining it. Isn't it not part of you protecting the home? What about securing your Wi-Fi, IoT devices? I'm sure some of you might have answered those in the chat, and we may have missed those answers. But yes, lock and key was one of the primary responses. Again, how do you secure your jewels or your prized possessions? What are the different locks you might use? You could use an electronic keypad, biometric, or any other fancy feature that's available now. What about cleaning and maintaining the hygiene of your home? Isn't it not part of the protection? What about protecting the surrounding of your home? And most important, what about the people who are living? The home is made up of the people as well. And what is that risk if this home is not protected? And of course, having the home insurance as well, which somebody answered. So the moment we saw this question, how to protect our home, by default, we got few answers. That means we only can come up with the information that we have. But some of those things that we are not aware of, we couldn't even think about those. And that is exactly the weakness that we are creating here. Terry, the next slide, please. Now, what do we see in this example here? We see a bicycle. Again, use the chat facility to respond, please. Is the bike parked? You lock, no lock? Yes. Bicycle secured and locked? Yes, absolutely, Terry. A few more questions, please. So yes, it is locked. And is that the right lock? Yes, it is the right lock. Is it secured?
The chat, lots of answers in the chat.
Yep. Nope. It is not. Absolutely not.
That's right.
So if Terry has clicked the slide again, because there is a delay for me here, you might have done. There you go. It is not. So we think we are doing all the right things. We are ticking all the right boxes. That is exactly how even I would park my bike. Yes, I parked that. I know I have ticked the box. It's the parking space. It is the right lock. And I have locked the wheel. But it is still not secure. And this is exactly what we are doing within our organizations as well. We have these security standards installed or the frameworks implemented. And we have all the tick boxes. We have the auditing team even come and check. But yet, in spite of all of these things, we hear and read about security incidents almost every other day. So like in the home example, whatever we don't know, we cannot protect. And similarly, if we are just ticking the boxes in the bicycle exam, there as well, we are not securing. So only when these two perspectives come together, then we can see what exactly security is. So that is the shift in the mindset. It is trying to make sure all the security aspects, and even if you have a whole list of all the things that you need to protect, because many of you gave us different options to protect your home. But again, not everybody wants everything. And similarly, in cybersecurity, there is no one solution. Every organization is different. So we take all of these aspects and we consider what is that we need for our organization? What is the risk that is associated with our assets? Only when we do this analysis, then we will understand how we can protect our information or whatever the organizational assets here. So Terry, the next slide, please. Yes, we need to think like a malicious person as well, along with the other things. Okay, so we would be working on different projects, and I called some of these as cybersecurity avatar projects. So at a product level, we could be authenticating a product, or we could be even providing access permissions for the process flows or our product itself. Or we could be working on projects to secure the gateways or the firewalls, or we could be even encrypting the data. So all of these projects that we would be working within our organization, or we could be even implementing a security framework or a standard. Or we could be even working on a compliance project for data privacy, for example, legal and regulatory. Or at a strategic level, we could be performing risk analysis or data analysis. And only when we try to see holistically what is that we are actually protecting, which, by the way, should be in your security policy. Again, how many of you are aware of what is that your security policy actually defines? What is that we are protecting? Why is it important? Why is that for some organizations, the data is quite crucial for X number of years, for another organization, Y number of years? And again, a set of data set is so important for a particular organization, for another organization, something else. So only when we understand what is it that is defined in our security policy that we are protecting, and throughout this journey from the strategic analysis up until you're protecting the entry to a product or a process, we need to have that clear vision of what is that we are securing. Another perspective is, even when you're trying to protect your home, when do you first start? Say, even if you're finding a place or a new place, you would actually see, okay, which is the area that is quite safe. So security is even before you actually start the project. So only when we have all of this vision very, very clear about what is it we are securing, at what stage, what layers, and how, only then we will be able to define cybersecurity. Terry, next slide, please. Which is the protection of systems, processes, network, and data. And to this, I would also like to add the people. They are also the asset. And only when we protect all of this within the categorization of the information security as confidentiality, integrity, and availability, we will be able to define cyber security. So if you have any questions at this point in time relating to this topic, please feel free to ask. If you have any other questions, we will address in the in the Q&A section. Are we okay at this point, Tiffany?
Yeah, there's a few questions in the Q&A box, but
okay, I just had a look now. Yeah, we can address that in the Q&A.
Right, okay.
So yeah, can I hand it over back to you, Terry?
All right, thank you,
just
Bindu.
Look at the CIA aspects. Thank you.
Absolutely. One of the things that we talk about in cybersecurity is a security posture. So we talked a bit about hygiene. We talked about the importance of inventory, of asset inventory, determining what is in scope to be secured. And security posture is the ability to actually execute on your security principles, your security policies and standards. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And yes, some great questions in the Q&A. We'll get to those at the Q&A time. Thank you. Keep them coming. What is cybersecurity? As Bindu described, it's a lot of things, and it's a holistic view. In the old days, we had information security, data security, there are a number of areas with virus protection and things like that. And collectively, cybersecurity is the art of protecting networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access and criminal use. It's also the practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and information. This is called the triad of cybersecurity. Confidentiality, that's information that's sensitive. We have to establish some criteria around the nature of that data, who should have access to it and who shouldn't. Integrity is the quality and the consistency of the data. Cybersecurity is very concerned and is actually responsible for ensuring that the data that is truthful remains truthful. The data systems that hold that data are not tampered with maliciously or otherwise. And when we talk about availability, one of the challenges of cybersecurity is to ensure that the data is available to those who need it, when they need it, and that it's trusted and that it's actually the integrity that was intended to. One of the things that I notice, and I mention often, is that that's an incomplete definition of cybersecurity now. Although I love it, it's wonderful, right? The art and the practice, but it's missing the component of the business value of cybersecurity. We'll talk a little bit about that down the road. The things that we'll discuss, another set of definitions of terms that we want to share with you that are very important and are foundational to cybersecurity, are threats, vulnerabilities, and risks, and the difference of those. Bindu will go into more depth on that around our topic on risk management. In the exercise around protecting your home, a lot of the answers are to protect the house. And much like many of us, our thoughts are first protect the perimeter, right? We use the castle wall mentality. Security posture for many organizations up until the mid-2000s, mid-2014, 2015, was to establish a perimeter, to not trust anybody outside, but once you're inside, you trust everyone. That's given way to a lot of security breaches and is no longer a viable means of protecting our company's data and assets, things that are important to them. In fact, with the advent of cloud, SaaS, IaaS, platform as a service, all these other various cloud-related services, there is difficult to define the perimeter now. And so we need to move away from that in our security posture and start establishing a risk-based approach, which helps us to identify the value of things and invest in the right security for that asset or collection of data, those systems. And by establishing a risk-based approach, we can now invest appropriately because the reality is that there are too many things to protect. Not all things should be protected with the same level of security. We need to prioritize investments because there simply isn't enough capital to invest to protect everything. And the other reality is there aren't enough resources. There aren't enough cybersecurity experts, engineers and analysts to perform the 3.5 million vacant jobs today globally. And so with that, those investments must be very clearly scrutinized. So moving away from that castle wall mentality to a risk-based suggests a very important mind shift that Bindu mentioned. And that's that shift towards resiliency. Organizations have now become aware that it's not a matter of if your company, your organization, your institution will be breached. It's really a matter of when and to what degree. And are you prepared for that inevitability? And how long will it take to detect? How long will it take to recover? These are the questions now that cybersecurity organizations are raising up to the board. And the board is coming back and saying, how do we become more resilient? And how do we measure that? Well, resilience, much like agility, is measured in the ability to pivot quickly, to move in a way that gives you immediate business value and allows you to take some risks based on your knowledge of your security. By moving into, again, this risk-based approach and selectively investing where that those investments need to provide the level of security that's necessary, business analysis plays a significant role. These are areas around which we naturally have those skills through our training, through our experiences, to enable companies to evaluate the data, to provide asset inventory and prioritization capabilities. And it's through that relationship between business analysis and the engineering, executive, and operations cybersecurity organizations, those components, to make better decisions around what to secure and what types of security to put around that. So moving away from a maturity-based castle wall into the risk-based approach, we as business analysts will need to have a good foundation in risk and risk management. And with that, I'd like to turn this back over to Bindu, who will share some insights on that.
Thank you, Terry. And next slide, please. Terry just touched upon risk management process. Yes, it is the backbone for cybersecurity, because we can say something is secure only when all of its risks are managed. Even if there is one risk that is not managed, that is still a threat and it is not secure. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So let's quickly look at a risk management process, because we don't know what we don't know. We saw the example of protecting our homes, and we also saw an example of the bicycle. In both the cases, we thought it was secure and we had all the aspects of security in our home implemented, or we saw the bicycle where we thought it was secure, but it wasn't. So that knowledge of what we don't know is risky there. Next slide, please. So we actually need a whole session or a whole day to go through the risk management process. But here we are just touching the surface, and for our session today, we are using the ISO risk management process here. As you can see, it is a cyclic process. The very first step is establishing the context. It is identifying what is that we are trying to secure here. Is it an asset? Is it the data? Is it the actual physical object? Is it a situation? What are we trying to secure here? And then when we identify the object of our prized possession, then we start looking at what are the things that can damage to our asset here. What all can go wrong in this situation? So we start listing all of those things. And that is key for identification, because if we don't identify the risks, then we are not securing our asset. So once we identify all the risks, then we start going to the next step, assessing it to say, okay, how frequently this might happen? Yes, pandemic happens once in 100 years. So are we going to accept this risk, or going by our previous experience, are we going to be prepared? So these are the analysis bit where we say, what is the probability and what are the impacts? And based on all of this data, we prioritize and decide what is the risk that we could accept, or what are those risks that we cannot accept and we want to mitigate it completely, which means we try to do something else which is not risky, or we could even try to share the risk, for example, outsourcing to a third-party supplier or having an insurance. So these are all how we treat the risks. And throughout this risk management process, a constant and regular communication and consultation is required with all the interested parties so that we identify each and every risk, and we also come up with the best possible solutions to mitigate those risks. And of course, it is not a one-time process. It is a cyclic process. So constant monitoring and review is required so that we can always stay ahead in the curve to secure our assets. So the next slide, Terry, please. So as BAs, what can we do here? And before that, yes, cyber risk is just not the data risk. It is the entire business risk. Because compliance is not enough. We ticked all the boxes in our bicycle, but we complied with whatever we had to do, but it was still not secure. So it doesn't matter what business the organization is dealing in. If they are not investing in risk management, that's a risky business. So compliance is not enough, and cyber risk is the business risk because it does affect the bottom line, the financials, it does affect the reputation, it does affect lives as we are seeing now. So as BAs, what can we do in this space? The next slide, Terry. And sorry if you're hearing the background noise of the fireworks. Yeah, if you could just list all of them together, please.
List them all. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, because there's a delay. So yes, first and foremost, as BAs, we can start working, or we can start supporting in implementing the risk frameworks itself, understanding what are those procedures and processes to be formed, or even identifying the actual assets and configurations, and tracking vulnerabilities and actually performing risk assessments. We are trained to do analysis, so we are the best people to perform risk analysis. So yes, normally in most organizations, risks are maintained by the product or owned by a product or the project or the program managers, but assessment and analysis should be performed by business analysts because we are trained, and we also get to see the whole big picture, talking to the business, the technical teams, and everybody else. So we are in the best possible position, again, in collaboration and consultation with all the interested parties. Tracking exception cases, of course, prioritization, and also helping categorizing and implementing the mitigating controls as well. Okay, so Terry, do you want to continue with the other BA activities?
Awesome. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we could easily spend a full day on the role of the BA in risk management. This is a significant area that needs a lot of attention, and it really drives modern cybersecurity processes and prioritization today. What are some of the other things that business analysts can be doing directly involved with projects that they're engaged in? One of the areas that is growing, I think, among business analysts, and I'm seeing this across the spectrum, is adding security into your user stories. And specifically bringing in your personifications to include malicious actors, actors who are maybe not necessarily malicious, but attempting to misuse your application or your solution. By describing in your user stories these types of characterizations or activities, you can now write acceptance criteria to mitigate or remediate those issues. I think it's really important that we think about security throughout the entire process of any endeavor or initiative that we're embarking on. So do a little research, go online, do some Googles, read about use, abuse, and misuse cases, and see where you might be able to apply those in your daily activities, especially if you're working in an agile structure with an agile team. Those are great opportunities to, again, start thinking about security-related controls and such. One of the things I want to reiterate is my definition of risk is risk is a calculation. It's an equation. It's the likelihood of a threat exploiting a vulnerability and the potential impact from that event. And in our risk-based approach as BAs in cyber, we're really looking at threats and vulnerabilities and trying to perform an analysis and assessment of what that impact is. And that's the risk equation. We can apply that in our really in all of our activities. Another area that I want to focus on, again, surrounding application development or solution development, is the concept of shifting left. That's the idea of actually bringing security into the conversation as early as possible. Even when folks are designing a concept or looking at a problem, bring the conversation of security into that discussion as early as possible. Immediately is the term that I've used. It's not soon enough. If you're not talking about security yet, you've missed an opportunity. We call this shifting left, which is the idea of moving closer to the beginning of the steps. The cost of bolting security onto an application after it's been deployed to production can be 100 times the cost if you had designed security into that solution early on. Adding security into the application development or AppSec pipeline is being done today using many new tools, techniques, and processes that business analysts can learn and become involved with. There's a concept of threat modeling, where we take dependency maps of an application and then, working with our cybersecurity experts, start to identify the boundaries, those security boundaries that build the layers of security that enable a defense in depth approach to securing the assets, the data, the systems further inside. Scanning is now being done while coding. The many types of vulnerability scanning, it can occur. We scan it, what you might have heard is pen testing or penetration testing. Oftentimes that happens well after it's been released to production. That same technology, those same skill sets can be applied earlier and earlier in the coding development process. And being able to work with the cyber team, providing our analysis skills, enables the engineers to focus on the engineering solutions of cyber, while we help to enable the analysis and prioritization processes. And when we're looking at holistically that continuous pipeline of continuous integration, continuous deployment, as we move closer to a real agile environment, being able to provide the analysis continuously is extremely important. And again, business analysis brings a lot of skill expertise into that domain. Additionally, BAs can really contribute to helping with cybersecurity requirements. So not just with user stories, but writing business cases and ensuring that cybersecurity is included. And earlier, when I talked about the definition of cybersecurity having another component, and that's adding business value. By investing in security, organizations can more quickly adapt and pivot both on opportunities or against threats, knowing that they're secure, so they can make those changes securely and safely. Taking risks, businesses are required to take risks if they want to succeed, but knowing that they can take a risk with cybersecurity working very well into the design phases, not bolting that on in the end, gives businesses an advantage. It gives them a leg up. Making sure that when you're doing your work breakdown structure, you actually have a component of security included in there, working with your security architects, working with your cybersecurity engineering teams and your detect and response teams, making sure that you have concept and design drawings incorporate security layering. If you're using any type of permitting processes before you go into a build or operate state, ensuring that you're passing your information privacy, compliance, and cybersecurity requirements. Who's responsible for that? Well, if the business analyst brings that into their purview of activities and highlights that, then it's very likely going to be included in the design, in the development, and then ultimately into the solution. Working with your project managers and product owners, make sure that cybersecurity is included in the milestones. You don't want to miss those opportunities. As I said, it becomes very expensive if you miss a gate. Again, information security and compliance. Performing cybersecurity in your dev, test, and QA environments, right? Those obviously we're very concerned about the capability, functionality of the solutions that we're building, again, when we're talking about AppSec, but even more broadly, making sure that you're including your security teams with them, and having a security background, having some of the lingo, some of the language, some of the terminology and the concepts allows you to be a better translator, a better interpreter for the teams that are working together with the cyber team. And make sure that you have cybersecurity in your test plan. So as you can see, there are a range of areas where business analysts can really help organizations by bringing a cyber hygiene, by bringing awareness of security, and then very specifically finding places to insert security into design, test, into the business cases, and throughout the development of the solutions. So,
Terry, I'll just jump in for a second to just make sure we have enough time to cover off our Q&A. Discussion has been great. The chat has been great, but I just want to get a chance to make sure we cover off some of those questions.
Fabulous. And I'm going to turn it over to Bindu. We're going to run through this pretty quickly, and we're going to get to the Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry. I think, yes, just before we get into this research or the additional information, the point you were just sharing, Terry, about the responsibilities of a BA, and I see some of the questions in the Q&A very specifically asking if, as a BA, can we involve in a particular specific activity? I think one such was penetration testing. So I think the standpoint, what we are trying to share here is, we are business analysts and we still remain as BAs. However, we extend our analysis to include cybersecurity holistically within our analysis. So like any other business analysis, when we want to understand more about a business, we go and tap into the knowledge of the subject matter experts of our businesses. Similarly, now, when we know that we need more information about cybersecurity, then we go and tap into the cybersecurity experts who are experts in the specific area or the specific technology or the specific tool or even the technical designer and whoever they are. So as BAs, our job is to kind of still remain. So if we are seeing the BA as one end and the cybersecurity analyst on the other end who has all the cybersecurity expertise, when I say expertise, the solution expertise, then as a BA, we would go a little bit further on that road so that we understand what are those cybersecurity aspects that as a BA, I need to be aware of. And yeah, we have included the resources as Terry was sharing. So we have a lot of resources that we have included in these 2 slides so that you can just do a casual reading to know more about it. Or if you're seriously interested into it, we also have links to cybersecurity analysis certification, the CCA, and I think currently there is a discount as well, which you can really avail. And at the same time, I think there is another question relating to the certification, where how is this different to any other cybersecurity certifications? As I just shared, from a BA standpoint, whatever the cybersecurity information that we are providing is specific to and limited to the business analysis activities, whereas the specific cybersecurity certifications are those that deals with a lot of technical solutions and the controls to be implemented. So Terry, if there's anything to add, please feel free.
No, I think you're spot on. The CISSP is a gold standard amongst cybersecurity engineers, analysts, and architects, if you will. And it is very technical. I have not taken the CISSP, although I have it here on my shelf and I have been studying for it. But it is a different perspective. Business analysis has its own domain and provides significant value to that organization. And that certification is really focused around the analysis. The IIBA's certificate in cybersecurity analysis is unique in that regard. We did partner with IIBA, who is another highly respected organization to develop that certification.
And it is mostly in the BA style of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple of other questions here. Great questions too, by the way. When we talk about password, I didn't get into multi-factor, two-factor. Would love to spend another hour and a half on that, along with encryption and how that works. But again, password hygiene is something that we do. It's not something that you have. So two-factor, multi-factor, very important. And in some cases, it's required. So that will continue to grow until we literally become passwordless. But I'm not going to get into that. Great question.
Can I just add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, I think today, whatever the technology is, first of all, we need to understand security is not a destination. It is always a journey. So yesterday, we didn't have the multi-factor authentication, and today we have that. And tomorrow there could be something. And I think you were just touching upon the another question on biometric. Yesterday we have this technology, so tomorrow there could be something. But this chasing game has always been here, and it will continue to be here. So it is a journey, and it is a constant, as Terry was talking about, being resilient, how we can proactively try to secure or try to be above, look at our monitoring reports. What are they saying? And constantly check for vulnerabilities. And also as BAs, not in depth, we can still be ahead in the curve by kind of understanding what's the latest that's happening, and can we kind of, harness the new technology, and if yes, what are we trying to achieve? So these are some of the things which we can do as BAs, and it's a constant repetition cycle, and it is a journey.
Absolutely true. Yes. Other questions here. I'm going through the list.
There's a question that I'd like to answer, the non-expert on the
Yes.
call, and it's about the slides. And I just want to assure
Yeah.
everybody that that's come up a couple times in the chat. I've shared the link, but you will definitely get a link to the presentation in an email, and I'll share it one more time in the chat as well. So just wanted to let everybody know that you will have access to those. So I just want to take a couple moments to address that one, and you guys can go right back and jump back into the Q&A. You guys are so hands-on, because normally I am, plucking and fishing the questions, and I love it that you guys jumped in, and this chat has been so lively and great. So
Absolutely. Thanks for the brilliant comments on
Yeah.
the chat as well. And it's
Yeah.
really great to see all your contributions here and the collaboration, and really enjoy you joining us here today.
yes. Yeah, what I'll do is we are coming close on our time here. So I would just like to take this moment to just formally thank you both. Some things that stood out for me, I considered asking it in the chat, is if that actually happened to anybody with the bicycle. That analogy I won't forget. And I feel like it's definitely a good one that resonates with a lot of people, as well as the analogy you guys use for protecting our home. I know that there's a lot of value using those types of examples. So thank you for that. This is such a great topic to cover. In your words, Bindu, it is not a destination, it's a journey. That's another thing that I'll take away, because every time I do a session like this, I take away nuggets of information that are so valuable just to continue to educate yourself. So if you'd like more information about IIBA's cybersecurity analysis, you can visit iiba.org/CCA for more information, and for the helpful links that Terry and Bindu refer to, that will be included in the presentation slides that we're sharing. The best place to reach Bindu or Terry is through social media on their LinkedIn, as well as their email addresses that you see here. And again, I want to thank you both one more time for your valuable insights on this topic. And finally, a special thank you to our attendees for being here with us today. As mentioned, a follow-up email will go out. Please feel free to respond with any questions or comments you may have. And thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tiffany.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.